Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Jam Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Parivakatara Sarasi Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Vesi Bhakti Vedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jam Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Parivakatara Sarasi Srimad Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Thakur Bhakti Vinod Ki Jai. Sri Guru Parampara Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sadhu Sangha Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Go Premananda Haribo. So, Om Namo, oh, we've done that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together, please. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stabhidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabhadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidamscha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishpuri Vrishabhana Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Paritanam Bhavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary Srila Prabhupada. Today's verses 65 and 66, chapter 2, contents of Gita summarized. So, we'll go more quickly through the Sanskrit. Just repeat after me. Prashade sarvadukhanam hanir asyo pajayate prasanna chetaso hyaso buddhi parivatistate. Word for word, please repeat. Prashade, on achievement of the causeless mercy of the Lord. Sarva, of all. Dukhanam, material miseries. Hani, destruction. Asya, his. Upajayate, takes place. Prasanna chetasa, of the happy-minded. He, certainly. Ashu, very soon. Buddhi, intelligence. Pari, sufficiently. Avasishtate, becomes established. Translation Srila Prabhupada. For one who is thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. So now we'll do the same thing with the Sanskrit of 66. Nasti buddhi ayuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhava yatha shantir asantasya kuto sukam. Word for word, please repeat. Na asti. Asti. There cannot be. Buddhihi. Transcendental intelligence. Ayuktasya. Of one who is not connected with Krishna consciousness. Na. Not. Cha. And. Ayuktasya. Of one devoid of Krishna consciousness. Bhavana. Fixed mind. In happiness. Na. Not. Cha. And. Abhava yata. Of one who is not fixed. Shantihi. Peace. Ashantasya. Of the peaceful. Kutaha. Where is Sukham? Happiness. Translation, Srila Prabhupada. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? Please repeat. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? Purport Srila Prabhupada. Unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in the 5th chapter, 529, that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penance, that he is the proprietor of all universal manifestations, and that he is the real friend of all living entities, then only then can one have real peace. Therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. Disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. And when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress and is without peace. However much he may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life, Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested, peaceful condition which can be achieved only through relationship with Krishna. Okay. So, nastir buddha ayuktasya na cha yuktasya bhavana na cha bhava yata shantir ashantasya kuto sukam. Indriyani cha charatam. Nasti buddhi ayuktasya nachasya bhavana nacha bhavayata shantir asantasya kuta sukam. Number 65. For one who is thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can neither have transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? Yes, so this is Krishna instructing Arjuna, because as we know, Arjuna was very disturbed. So that is the state of non-Krishna consciousness. At the Bhagavatam, at the beginning, it says, Mano Ratena. That people in the material world, they're pushed and pulled by Mano Ratena, the chariot of the mind. Right? We're spirit soul within the subtle body and then within the gross body. And we're riding on this chariot. So unless Krishna is the chariot driver, then the mind is very disturbed and it is going here and there, pulled by the horses. So if Krishna, the charioteer, is controlling the horses, then you can direct the chariot. So that is Krishna consciousness. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayandite. Krishna gives intelligence to the living entity so that he can choose the right path in his spiritual life. But if it is not Krishna, the charioteer, but ourselves, and the chariot, the reins, are being pulled by the senses. We have working senses, we have knowledge acquiring senses, so they're pulling. They want to contact the sense objects, right? We want to hear nice things materially, touch nice things, see nice things, taste nice things, smell nice things. We want to use our working senses, so on and so forth, in the material sphere. But that is not yoga. That is being pulled into the material world. And we may have a modicum of control, but we are very much pushed and pulled by the powerful senses. I think just before this Krishna says that. Yes, Krishna gives that earlier. The senses, this is number 60, the senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind of even a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So even a man of knowledge can be carried away by his senses. But then Krishna gives the counterpoint, one who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me. So it's interesting the way Prabhupada has translated it, and it's there in the Sanskrit. First you have to restrain the senses. You want to overeat, you want to oversleep, you want to eat non-prasadam, you want to speak badly, you want to become angry. So you have to restrain that. This is the yogic path. Don't indulge in sensory activities that are illicit or impelled by passion and ignorance. Try to stay in the mode of goodness. Samadhamma tapaso cham. Try to speak nicely, think nicely, be generous, be merciful, not be bitter, rumomonger, angry, vengeful, right? So we restrain that, the bad impulses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his mind upon me. So that's it. So this is a very nice way to think of it. As soon as we're sadhakas, at least myself, as soon as we become attracted to some material, maybe even impious activity, we should restrain the senses, and that we should have a program, or if you like, in our mind, oh, I must put my consciousness back on Krishna. So the material sense is pulling. They should remind us, whoa, that is a dangerous thing. Let me remember Krishna. is known to be a man of steady intelligence, right? So the buddhi controls the mind. The mind is the reservoir of consciousness emanated by the soul. And that is and then the mind is within the material body. And the whole thing is directed by Paramatma. So in the material world we'll find that in the Yoga of the Supreme Person, I think that's 15th chapter, where Krishna explains that the whole material world is like a lake. And on top of this lake, all the living entities are there. And according to their desire, they are moving around this lake and interacting, trying to find this. Man wants a woman, the woman wants the man wants money, he wants this, he wants a house, he wants to go traveling. So according to his desire, this lake of material desire, he's moving and interacting with all the living entities. So that is not advisable for those that want to go back home to Godhead. If you do that, exert your desire and controlling capacity in the material world, then you will remain in the material world. So you're all yogis, you're all devotees. So we should be very clear in our mind that yoga means to restrain the material senses and then put the consciousness upon the Supreme Lord. Right? So there are three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So last week we talked about how Bhagavan includes Paramatma and Brahmajyoti. That is Lila Purushottam, Krishna. He is the embodiment of all Lila. So that should be our contemplation. Now there are those that are yogis and they meditate on the Brahman. But this is not satisfactory because Brahman is characterless. It is just energy. There's no Leela. There's no sweetness there. There's no rasa. It is just existence. And then there are those that meditate upon Paramatma. This is a personal form. But he is, if you like, just impersonally governing, impartially we can say, governing the fruit and the work of the living entities, their karma, their work, and he's giving them the fruit. Yastvindha gopamata vendra mahosva karma. So that's in the Brahma Samhita, that he impartially ordains the fruit of every living entity's desires, calm, and activities. But also, there is that description in the Upanishads that the body, the material body, is like a tree. And there are two birds living in the tree. One is the individual soul. And in the material life, he's just trying to eat the fruit of the tree. But there's also another bird in the tree, this is in the Upanishads, that is Paramatma. And he is the best friend of the little bird who's eating the fruit. And he's waiting. Why isn't this bird paying attention to me? I'm waiting. So it's explained that Krishna is also Paramatma. He's within our consciousness. He's within our material situation. But he is waiting for us to turn to him. So that is spiritual life. When we turn to Krishna, antirmukh, instead of becoming bahimukh. So we should have this very clear in our mind. We should have this very clear in our mind. Yes, Vasudeva Savamiti. Everything is Vasudev. and everything can be related to Vasudeva, but we want to meditate upon Krishna as Leela Purushottam. And Prabhupada there in the purport, he mentioned 529, if you remember. And what is that verse? Bhuktaram yoga takvasam savaloka maheshwaram suridam savabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richade. Bhuktaram. The Krishna is the enjoyer or the proprietor or the ultimate source, and he should be respected of all tapasam, bhuktaram yoga tapasam, of all sacrifice and austerity. It should all be offered to him. Manmana pavamad bhakto majjaji, everything. And then what is savaloka maheshwaram? That's why he should be given all the results of activities, because he is the origin and he is the Maheshwaram, supreme controller of all the material energy, what to speak of the spiritual energy. And he is Suridam Sarvabhutanam. So he is a big man, the enjoyer of everything. He is the controller and origin of everything, but he's not aloof. He's the supreme elite. Now in this material we know about elite. They become very selfish and even demoniac. But the Supreme Lord, Suridam Sarvabhutanam, he's the well-wisher. Suridam. There is Mitra, Surit and Suridam. So Krishna is the well-wisher. So he is the supreme well-wisher because he wants us to come out of the material energy. That is his desire. But he will fulfill our desire to stay in the material world. Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Eko Yodidati Kamam. He is the supreme conscious eternal amongst all such beings, but he is fulfilling the desire of everyone. So he fulfills everyone's desire. So if we go back to Godhead, it's because we desire to go back to Godhead. This is the catch. If we stay in the material world, it's because we desire to stay in the material world. So the onus, the burden is on us. Of course, when we take shelter of Krishna and the spiritual master, the Mahajana, what is that verse? Mahajana Katasva Pantha. And we take shelter, surrender to Krishna, then he protects. Name bhakti pranashiti. Right? Satatam, right? Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam didami buddhi yogam tam yenamam mupiyanti say. So Krishna is equal to everyone. Samaham savabhuteshu. Nadve Priya Bhukta. Yes, so Krishna is equal to everyone, but if you render service to spiritual master and Krishna and you do the bhajan of Krishna, then he becomes a friend to you. So that's very reassuring. He's not just impartially, he's impartially ordaining for the material people who are walking in the passive work, but the devotees who are trying to attain him, he becomes a friend. We surrender to Krishna, and Krishna says, okay, you've surrendered to me in sincerity, so now I'm going to take you back to Godhead. I'm going to help you in this way, in that way, in this way, and that way, so that you come back to Godhead. But we should not make it difficult for Krishna. Right? We should understand. That's why I looked it up, because we're talking about it a lot. I looked it up. it's in 2117 of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Where did it is? Oop, can't find it. Selected verses. Yes, here. Oop. Ah, yes. Siddhanta Baliya Chitete Nakara Alasa Iha Haite Krishna Lage Surida Manasa. A sincere student, that means somebody who wants to go back to Godhead, who wants to become Krishna's devotee, who is practicing worship of Krishna because he's Nirmatsyaranam, he's not envious of Krishna's supremacy. A sincere student should not neglect the discussion of such conclusions, Siddhanta, considering them controversial, for such discussions strengthen the mind. Thus one's mind becomes attached to Krishna, just like we see in this verse. We want to attach the consciousness to Krishna, and then we can easily restrain the senses. So this is it. The first stage of Krishna consciousness is to master Siddhanta. Not master in the way that you know everything perfectly, but you know the basic ideas. Just like we're talking, the basic ideas of Krishna consciousness is not to be pulled by the senses, but by being pulled, as we talked about last week, by the Leela of Krishna. Not to be absorbed in the material facilities, but to be absorbed in the Leela of Krishna. Raso vajam rasopyasya param drisva nivartate. That is the basic principle. So that is a matter of practice. Therefore, I think that... So the result of learning this Siddhanta and discussing is, as it says here, thus one's mind becomes attached to Krishna. And I read the purport this afternoon, and in the purport, Prabhupada explains, Prabhupada used the commentary of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And in that commentary Prabhupada gave, he said there are different sampradayas, and then the next paragraph he said, we should not think that we just do the bhajan of Krishna and not learn Siddhanta. Then our way is not clear, because then we'll be worshipping Krishna, and we want to worship Krishna, but we're not purified in consciousness. So this is the origin of the sahajiya tendency. Oh, I don't want to. Sahajiya means to go the easy way or the natural way. Oh, I love Krishna, but I don't really understand Krishna. I don't really understand yogic principles. I don't really understand the three modes of material nature. I don't really understand the potencies of Krishna, but I love Krishna. He's with Radha in the forest of Vrindavan. Now that's good. That's devotion. That's wonderful. But if we study Siddhanta, then the nescience becomes dismissed, and we see spiritually. Remember last week we were talking, the Vishnu Shakti Praveda, that when the living entity is in the material energy, three things are prominent. Nescience. His mind becomes confused, like Arjuna here at the beginning. He doesn't understand philosophically what is birth and death. He's heard about the soul, but he doesn't really know what the soul is. Is the soul the emotions? Is it this? Is it that? So he's nescient ideas, political ideas. Then he becomes godless. Not then, but he also becomes godless, which means he doesn't have an idea about God. He doesn't really, or he has a false idea of God. God is angry. an angry man with a big beard that will send you to hell forever, so on and so forth. He has a pashandi, mistaken ideas. So that is lack of Siddhanta. If he has Siddhanta and he studies Mahadhyena Katasva Pantha, all the great acharyas, they give all these clear pathways, this knowledge. So the other part of that verse is that the truth of religious principles is hidden within the core of everyone's heart. It's there within the soul. It's natural. Like we were saying last week, samadhi is natural for the devotee that's liberated, because he's realized Krishna, so his mind is always going to the beauty of Krishna. So Siddhanta is natural. So that is within the heart. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadakabanai. Krishna Prem is there within the heart. But the pathway to undo it or release it, Kride Udai, wake it up, is given by the Mahajan, the great authorities. So they give commentary, they give analysis, they give Siddhanta. And then one naturally realizes the Supreme Lord. It's within the heart. That's called Abhideya. So Vaishnava philosophy, Vedic philosophy is Sambandha, Siddhanta, very important. And then Abhideya, worship of Krishna, from a position of the correct understanding of Krishna. And then Abhideya, we realize that Krishna's pastimes are not mundane. Krishna's dancing with the gopis. He's wrestling with the cowherd boys. He's joking with Mother Yashoda. He's being the darling child. But we realize what this is, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is the ocean of ecstasy. This is the ocean of rasa, which the material world is a perverted reflection. This is jada ras, this is loka. That is all spiritual. When Krishna is meeting with the gopis, it's not mundane emotion that we experience here in the discotheque. This is ecstatic bhava. So through Siddhanta, we purify and expand the consciousness. And when we do Abhideya, we get rid of being godless. The three things, nescience, godlessness, and then karmavadi. He becomes attached to fruitive ideas. I'll work at this to get that. I'll do that to get this. His nature in the material world, three things again. Nescient ideas. He has godless, meaning he doesn't care about God. He doesn't know who is God. God is irrelevant. I've got my own problems. Don't talk to me about philosophy. So, and then he works in the material world with a fruitive mentality. He's like a merchant that goes into a forest, the material forest, and he tries to get things to profit from them. But if you gain Siddhanta, nescience goes. If you know Abhideya, you realize Krishna directly. You're all devotees, right? You're all realizing Krishna within your heart directly. It's your personal experience. So you lose godlessness. And then when you realize Krishna, instead of being fruitive, you start to think, I'll do everything as an offering to Krishna. Then that's the bhakta. I'll do everything for Krishna. I'll cook, I'll take prasadam. I'll sing about Krishna. I'll study philosophy about Krishna. So you lose the fruitive intention. But it starts with Siddhanta. Therefore Prabhupada, Prabhupada chanted in Tompkins Square Park, yes. But then he had classes in the Matchless Gifts, the first temple. And he had a kirtan, and then Prabhupada spoke philosophy. So he gave Siddhanta. And so this is the power of ISKCON. that we are not just chanting and showing the deity, but we're giving Siddhanta through Prabhupada's books, through classes, through distribution of this knowledge. Then people lose their godlessness, and when they realize Krishna, they lose their fruitive idea. They think, oh, Soridam Sarvabhu, he's the best friend. Yogyana, what is that? Bhuktaram Yogya Tapasam. I should be doing everything as an offering to him. I can still look after my family, my job, but I'll do it in a seva bhav. And so then, that is prayojan tattva. So sambandha abhideya prayojan. By this, one kicks out nescience, godlessness, and fruitive mentality. So it's very scientific. And if we understand it, that's powerfully. Because as we just read, if you understand Siddhanta, then as it said there, your mind becomes attached to Krishna. Because this is the point, that Krishna is the most attractive. So once the mind is purified and is realizing Krishna directly within himself, then the devotee enters bhakti samadhi. He becomes a madhyamadhikari. And so then he's learnt Siddhanta, and then he likes to chant. He likes to come to class and hear about Krishna. He likes to take only prasadam. He likes to take darshan. And he loses taste for the external world. So this is what's being talked about in today's verses. And this is what Arjuna is told in this chapter. Now, it's very interesting. You see this, yes. And so here's the result. Do thou, in verse 34 of this chapter, do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin. So do your duty, Arjuna, but without considering happiness, distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. So this is the theme, that you want to have balanced mind in your Krishna consciousness. Now people are usually fighting because they want victory. They don't want loss. They want happiness through the victory. But Krishna says, no, just do your duty as an offering to me. So this is the key point. That the devotee, he's not fruitive in his mentality. His impetus for activity is service to Krishna, service to the spiritual master. He's offering prasadam to Krishna naturally. He's cooking bhoga and offering to Krishna. That's his natural feeling. He's not doing it in a mechanical way. That's his bhava. I want to give to Krishna. So Krishna, though, here is giving Arjuna instruction. When you're a sadhaka, Arjuna, cultivate this balanced mentality. What's that word? Dehinam dhiras tatra namuyate. Yeah. So if you read this chapter, you will see all the verses. Krishna is always stressing this equipoised. Become dhira. Don't become pushed and pulled by the external world. If people say bad things to you, don't let it pull you into an argument. If something happens that you don't like, maintain your equanimity. Because, as we just read, if you don't maintain that equanimity, your senses will pull you out of Krishna consciousness. You're either focusing the mind on Krishna, Suridam Sarvabhutanam, and his Leela, or you're being pulled out into the material world, Tatashta, Swabhav. So we have to understand that very carefully. So at the beginning, we should restrain the senses. This is what Krishna says. Yes, and he says it again here in 48. That was 37. Be steadfast in yoga, O Arjuna. Perform your duty and abandon all attachment to success or failure. Such evenness of mind is called yoga. Huh? So here is the definition of yoga. To keep the mind balanced, even in the midst of the material energy, this is yoga. And in that, perform your duty as an offering to me, and don't be disturbed, be dearer by the external world. So this is something for us to remember, because the material world does agitate. As it says here, the threefold miseries. Right, let me see. For such a happy person, the threefold miseries exist no longer. Right? Yes, that's 65. For one who is satisfied in this Krishna consciousness, remembering the Leela of Krishna, the Ashtakala Leela, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. They become external to his meditation on the Supreme. In such satisfied consciousness of remembering the Leela of Krishna, one's intelligence is soon well established. So when we meditate upon Krishna in purified, following the regulative principles of freedom, yes, then, yes, that's number 64. But a person free from all attachment, aversion against this balanced idea, and able to control his senses through the regulative principles of freedom, we have regulative principles, can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. Thus satisfied, the miseries exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon established. So as soon as the senses are restrained, and we focus the intelligence on the Leela of Krishna and the nature of Krishna, Nam, Guna, Rupa, Leela, these three steps in understanding Krishna, then our intelligence is focused on understanding, oh, I heard the Siddhanta is the name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. So now, when I'm chanting in a devotional way, in a worshipable way, let me apply my intelligence to see Krishna in the name. Oh, Krishna is non-different from his guna, his qualities. So let me study the nectar of devotion. I think 64 qualities are given. Is it 64? Yeah. Let me analyze them with my intelligence to see how they relate to Krishna's Leela. In that book, there is a quality, and then a Leela is given by Rupa Goswami and expanded by Prabhupada to explain how that is a quality of Krishna. So now my intelligence is well established. So then, guna. Next is Sangha. Nam, Guna, Rupa. Nam, Rupa. Yes, so Krishna is none different from his Rupa. That means he is his form. And what is the highest form of Krishna? Shyam Sundar. That's why Prabhupada made this phrase, the supreme personality of Godhead. Supreme Personality. Nrsingadev there, but yes, he's Bhagavan, but the supreme aspect of Krishna's, the embodiment of all his qualities, is Shyam Sundar, Radha Shyam Sundar. So that is the reservoir of all beauty. That is the reservoir of all open. So let me apply my intelligence, understanding that is the infinite ocean of beauty, renunciation, Shakti, opulence, fame, knowledge. Wow, Krishna is the unlimited reservoir of beauty. Oh, there's so much beauty in the world. If we were to compress it all into one place, it would be a hair on Krishna's head, because his beauty is unlimited. The beauty of Radharani is unlimited. So when we consider and contemplate in this way, then we get the vision of Krishna's beauty, and then his quality, Nama, Rupa, Guna, and then Sangha is part of Leela. Who are his associates? Who are his friends? Who are the gopis? Who are the manjaris? What is their Leela? Let me read Govinda Leela Amrita. Let me read Krishna Bhavana Amrita. Let me read the Sanak Kumar Samhita, where the Ashtakala Leela is there. Let me become absorbed. Then our consciousness becomes established in realizing that. Didami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upiyantite. Sevan mukhi hijivada swayam eva spuryada. Krishna reveals himself through our meditation on the transcendental abode. So this is the important point, that yes, we want to learn Sambandha, we want to practice Abhideya, but the goal, if you remember in the purport, if there is no goal, the mind is manoratena. It's going from this. Oh, I want to marry her. No, I don't. I marry this one. Oh, no, I have to have kids. Now I have a job. There's no real final goal. But the devotee is thinking, the final goal of every activity is dovetailed to realizing Krishna and Krishna's Leela. So, Krishna's Leela, though, just like we should always remember, the Bhagavatam is giving that in 10th canto, but at the very first verse of the Bhagavatam, and this is in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadi Asyata, Atato Brahma Jignash. You want to inquire into the absolute truth. What's the first point? Next verse. The absolute truth is that from which everything emanates. So the Bhagavatam, first verse, is starting that. So the Bhagavatam leads us from that first point. Also Ishopanishad, which is the summation of all the Upanishads. The first verse is Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnat Udashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. That the absolute truth is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him are perfectly complete and perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Because he is the absolute truth, complete, even though so many units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. So that is the starting point, because everybody is asking, where do you come from? What? Where is this? What is that? So actually the first and final point of starting our understanding of Krishna is that he is the source of everything. And then we expand from that in the Bhagavatam, step by step, up to the 10th canto, where the Leela of Krishna is described. And then in the 11th canto is the Uddhava Gita. How to practice to become a Paramahamsa. Those things are hinted at and in sutra form in the Gita. Just like that verse, Arjuna asks, who is that? How can I recognize that person who is transcendentally situated? 59. Krishna says, that person who has given up all sense desire that arises from mental concoction and finds satisfaction in the self alone. He's Atmaram because he's meditating on that absolute truth. He is a person in transcendental consciousness. That's the sign. Atmaramastammunyo, right? Negranta apirukrame korvantyo tim bhaktim ita puto guno hare. So the qualities of Krishna are wonderful. They attract everyone. But we have to practice, and this is the yogic balance that Krishna is stressing. Don't become grabbed by the senses. Restrain them and fix the intelligence in understanding Krishna, in understanding the Bhagavad. Kalona stadrisham esha paranaka dunoda. The Bhagavatam is especially meant to lead us from that first point, that Krishna is the origin of everything, Vasudeva Savamiti, and lead us to the Leela of Krishna in transcendental world. So we study Siddhanta, we study the Shastra, and we liberate the truth of the material, the spiritual consciousness that's hidden within our heart. And to take us along that route, what do we do? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Because Nam Guru, that's Nityananda Shakti. So, yes, we understand Siddhanta, we learn Abhideya, we have a good idea of Prayojan, and how do we feed that? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Prabhupada often said like that. No matter if you have a problem, always keep chanting. And always keep Sadhu Sangha, Sava Shastra Hoy, Lava Mata Sadhu Sangha, Sava Siddhi Hoy. So always, he said, always stay in ISKCON with the sadhus. Find the sadhus in ISKCON. Take their association. Chant Hare Krishna, Maksita, Matkata, Prana, Ra Bodhayanta, Parasparam, Tamam Nityam, Tushyanti Char. So you become a volcano of Krishna Katha. You understand that, right? So you create Krishna Katha and avoid the distractions. What is that? What's that about? Gramya Katha? Yeah, avoid that. I was reading about Madhavendra Puri today, his devotional service. And he had a dream, and Gopal appeared, and I'm in the forest. I've been here for ages. My body's hot, and take me out, feed me, go and get some sandalwood, so on and so forth. And it describes the character of Madhavendra Puri. His guru, of course, he's the guru of Ishwara Puri, and his guru was Lakshmipati. So he introduced this Krishna Prem of Mahaprabhu's, this Manjari Gopi Bhav. Before that, it was not fully manifest, centralized, but after him. And so he always remains silent, it says, because this is what Krishna is saying, become equipoised, don't become distracted. And then we have Jad Bharat. in the, don't, Jadbarat, oh, in my last life I had a big problem. I fell in love with a deer. I'm not going to do that again. So he kept fixed. He kept the blinkers on. So Madhavendra Puri here would always remain silent. And he lived by himself without a companion. It's there in the text. Because he was scared about Gramya Kathar and so on and so forth. So yes, we have a big society, but we have to generate Krishna Katha, you see, within it. And we have to take responsibility to generate Krishna Katha. And if we study the Shastra, we study the commentary of the great devotees, then our mind becomes filled with that. And then we naturally speak about that. So this is, as Krishna says, follow the regulative principles of freedom. Yes, the negatives, no illicit sex, no intoxication, so on. Negative, okay, don't do that. Don't become dragged by the senses. Yes, very good. That's the negative. But we have to stress also the positive. Two sides of a coin. Okay, we don't want this, we don't want that, we don't want that. But then what do you want? Oh, we want to become absorbed in the Bhagavatam that teaches us that Krishna is the source of everything and then takes us all the way to the Ras Leela and the teachings of the Uddhava Gita. We want to have all that in our mind. That's the positive side of the coin. And that will take us back to Godhead. Right? What's this? There's a very nice sloka. We'll finish on it. At the end of the second chapter rather. 72 slokas. Yeah. Esha Brahmini stiti patha nainam prapcha vinu yati stita vasyam antikale ji brahma nivarnam richate. That is the way, like what we've just been trying to describe, of the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So, we should be inspired by that. As Prabhupada always said, don't stay in this material world. Go back home to Godhead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So thank you for your kind attention. Any quick question?
All covered.
All covered. Yes, go back to Godhead. Prabhupada said that. He even called it Back to Godhead magazine. Go back home, back to Godhead. Right? So I remember reading the Gita for the first time. I got it by mail order. And I thought, wow, this book's far out. And then I was reading, you can go back to Godhead and have eternal life. Wow. I mean, look at the material world now. It's not getting much better. You're scared to look at the news, isn't it? I mean, they're all going bonkers out there. But, yeah, let's go back home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada Sadhu Sangha Hare Krishna Maha Mantra Ki Jai. See you next Friday.